Welcome back to another episode of Industry Champions. I'm Steve Strum, sitting here with Bonnie Hayflick from the Bonnie Hayflick PR Counsel, enjoying some level of retirement.
I love it.
Which part? The PR or the retirement?
I loved PR. It was my career for 50 years.
So you started when you were born?
I started when I was born. I was very fortunate. I went to University of South Florida in Tampa, and I had a part-time job in the media relations department. So they said, do what you want. I'm like, oh my goodness. So natural gift to gab. Started out on those monster IBM typewriters, had a reel-to-reel with the white splicing tape, called professors, artists, whoever came through the university with, you know, their pizza tour from New York, didn't matter. And then when I graduated USF, there was a talk show opportunity. So I had my own talk show right out of school. And I wanted to be a sound guy. And in those days, girls were not in the sound booth. So they said, you know, you have a gift to gab. You need to be in front of the camera. So I did that, and I loved it. So I had a talk show. Then I went to New York. I was a Broadway publicist in my early 20s. Broadway in the 80s was a little tough. Survived that. Missed Florida. Came back here with that on my resume. I went right into PR. Went back to Tampa, and then came to Jacksonville, back to Jacksonville. I went to Wolfson High School. So I was a Wolfson grad here. So roots here, parents were here. I live in St. Augustine now, retired 3 years ago from PR.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and it was a good run. It was a real good run, very good career for me. I had my own company for the majority of the years, and then I double dipped at different agencies that needed a PR pro, but things have changed.
They have, sure. And actually that's interesting. So it's one of the things that, you know, when we were kind of doing some of the prep on this, talking a little offline, you know, the world has changed. The speed of news has changed. People are like, oh my God, there's so many bad things happening all the time. And I'm like, well, no, actually all those things were probably already happening, but we now know about something happening within 15 seconds.
Oh yeah.
And that's probably a long time.
Yeah.
Like the minute the soccer match between England and Argentina ended, because we're, you know, World Cup territory right now. Like within 5 seconds, we know what happened. So the world of PR is not just, you know, you hear these terrible like situations with folks that go through PR crises, where it's like somebody got caught doing this, the guy with the Coldplay thing, and like those are obviously PR events.
Yeah.
Those are negative PR events where
really,
you're sitting there trying to figure out how to unpull the pin on the grenade.
Yeah.
But what is PR for folks that are listening to, obviously public relations, but what is it that you actually do in PR for a client in order for them to show their best case to the world?
You tell their story. You tell their story. My method of PR was to interview my clients in depth, like from birth to now. So if I needed to localize a story, where they were from, or if they're local, I could say, oh, well, her parents were the original fire chiefs here. It's just whatever I could glean to get that business story out, I would do that in the initial interviews. And then as we developed a relationship for years and years and years, I was very fortunate in that I had clients for a long time. I would develop a relationship with the news media, and if they needed XYZ to talk about, they would contact me or the clients directly, because they knew my clients understood how the news game worked, and they didn't have to babysit anybody. Nothing was uncomfortable. So I spent a lot of time with clients and the news media, educating each one of them about what this person can offer. So working with the news media I loved, because I did that since, you know, the late 70s, early 80s in Tampa Bay. And then came here and developed wonderful relationships. A lot of these people are still on the air. Love Bruce Hamilton. Mary retired from Channel 4. A whole new crowd over at Action News, Jax. I dealt with Jeannie, and thank goodness, you know, still see her on Channel 12. So a lot of these longtime media people are still here. And if for some reason I need to ever get back into the business, I know I can just jump back in. But The difference is I was always a traditional media relations person where I would write press releases or write 2,500 word stories for trade publications for my clients, ghostwrite it for them, they would get the credit. Now it's different. Now it's, get the link from the story placement, have the social media team push it out there on social media so there's more and more and more marketing. But I do believe the traditional PR person still needs to exist, still needs to know how to write and to speak well and to present themselves intelligently, because the worst thing to do is if you're doing PR and you really don't know how to do it, you could possibly embarrass yourself in front of the news media that you're going to directly. You don't want to do that. And then they're like, elephants never forget. So.
And then, of course, in the court of popular opinion, if you embarrass yourself, and by that you also potentially cast your client who is in the public eye in a light by which they may not want to have been, and all of a sudden they refer back to that, and you can't get around it.
Well, there's an insurance product called errors and omissions, and that's very important, I think, for PR people and writers to look into getting errors and omissions insurance, because even though you believe you've been told the correct information by your client and it appears in print or on broadcast or now in social media or online, you have to be able to prove that for all intents and purposes your client was being honest with you. And if it's manipulated or edited by the news media or it wasn't the truth from the client, then you have backup. But if they take you to court, errors and omissions insurance protects you up to $1 million, $2 million.
Yeah, and
it's a shame to have to think about that.
Well, I mean, as a gentleman that's on the screen here, and then outside of this universe, I'm a partner of a financial services business. I have to have that. And it's not even a matter of, you could have even said the right thing, but if it was said in a different order. So the word could still be the same words, but to your point, if somebody or an entity changes the tonality, the timbre, and or the order of the words, it could literally completely change the essence of that discussion. And that's the world we live now. And of course, the news media is such a fast-paced universe, and especially you're talking about the onset with the social media stuff. Sometimes a story goes out and it's not accurate, and they find out a day, 2 days, a week later that it was not accurate at all, but yet everybody believes the one because it was what they read first.
Well, that's true. And to make a recall or to try to publish a correction, you're going to get swept and lost under that little correction type or that little mention, this story should have been XYZ when it was this.
Right, on page 10.
Yeah.
Right. So Steve Strum has a horn growing out of his head. Page 1 of the New York Times.
Oh.
Page 10 of the New York Times, it was just a blemish, right? And now all of a sudden I'm walking around, people watching for the horn. Thank you so much for taking time to walk through us. I know that crafting that PR, that image, that storyline is something that I've had opportunity to have some really, really great people here at the studio do with me.
You have a lot of pros here.
Sometimes I'm, my job is just try not to screw up too bad.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of whether I will screw up or not. It's just, not bad enough.
Yeah.
So, but thank you so much for sharing some of what your experience has
Loved
been.
It.
And as wonderful as you are, we can't do it without these people here. So, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to post all this content and all the links on our website, which is thedailynewsnetwork.com. If you love the episode, share the episode, and remember to live with gratitude.